be one of those streams that's commonly overlooked, and it's one of the parts when somebody actually does practice the occult. This is a part that is not really, in my opinion, not really addressed properly, the best way to put it, because also this is also kind of going into my, I know, every time when I see your name, I'm just like, Ethan, now, and then I just keep thinking about like, oh, Ethan Winters is here. I, I don't know, random, but still. But anyway, this is probably going to also be one of those topics that's getting into my like shadow aspect, meaning that like it's the part that's very uncomfortable for me. But nonetheless, it has to be done because this is something that is pretty vital in doing any kind of cult practice. And like, gosh, the thing I don't like about this thing, it can. I don't even know why it needs to get like this bright because it's okay. I'm not blind, but and yeah, and yes, my eyes are naturally that color, but still, too bright. But I mean, it makes the blue in my tattoos pop at least. I'm gonna just try and have that good enough. So anyway, and also keep in mind, I am not at all, any way, shape, or form a licensed psychologist, psychiatric, um, um, I guess that would be behavioral therapist. I am not at all certified or gone through the schooling for it at all. So keep that in mind. The only thing that I can use and I'm going to speak of is my personal experience because that's all I got. What may work for me may not work for you, and most definitely don't think that what I say, even when, especially when it regards to mental health and mental emotional health, make sure you understand that my word is not law in this state. However, though, there are some doctors and nurses and caregivers and therapists that don't know how to really go about trying to mend the issue, but that's another story. Anyway, probably one of the most commonly associated things that people says that they're practicing occult or they're an occultist or they're practicing some kind of magical path of witchcraft or anything along those lines. Most commonly, some people believe that they are afflicted with schizophrenia or afflicted with a psychiatric disorder, or they're experiencing a psychotic episode, or something along the lines of bipolar disorder, a state of mania, or a state of depression, or some psychological affliction. Some people automatically assume that that's what this person's doing because they're practicing witchcraft or they're being able to hear entities. Well, kind of being in a position where being a practicer myself for a long time and also being afflicted with those with some of the mental health challenges and obstacles because I mean I was experiencing delusions, and based on my experience, at least for me, there's a difference between like doing spirituality work, occult work, and having entities converse with you, and in comparison to the actual affliction. I was able, at least in my view, to point out some differences that may be apparent to other people, or it may just be based on my observation. And also, I've also kind of best put it. I've actually interacted with people that have had that schizo disorder, those psychiatric disorders, psychosis, and at the time, sometimes my significant other has faced those challenges with too, and seeing it firsthand and also being put in a situation to have no choice but to adapt and just do what has to be done to just make sure that everything's safe. Like, but then again, like I've said, I'm not a licensed professional. I'm not a clinical doctor in this. I'm not a psychiatrist. So don't take my word as law and don't think that it's medical fact because it's most definitely not. The only thing, again, experience. So, to take the first thing out of water, if you are practicing occult and if you're doing any work with entities, spirits, thought forms, or making servitors, or doing any kind of energy work, if your mental health is not well, you are perhaps the most susceptible to be influenced because your mental health is so fragile and so, best put it, pretty much anything that comes into contact with your thought process and your emotions and your sense of awareness, which includes your five senses, the slightest thing can completely affect you. So, say for an example, if you're trying to do a healing spell and then you have one sliver of doubt saying that, oh, this isn't going to work. So now you start having the thoughts of like, well, this healing spell is not going to work. It's probably going to backfire on me. And now you indirectly just cursed yourself. And now you're going to be spiraling down because your mental health isn't strong enough to know, look, we just did a working to heal somebody. Hold on. I was just waiting to see who was calling, but it wasn't anybody important. But anyway, but when you're having strong mental health and having strong ground and security and confidence in yourself, you'll actually be able to reason out. We just did a healing spell, so why are we trying to even have any indication of it not working? And then doubting ourselves, and then trying to make us think that it didn't work, and for some reason, because we did it wrong, it's going to come back on us and hurt us. If you don't have a strong mental health and a strong foundation, if you don't think properly, and if you can't comprehend logically, because a code at some degree does have logic to it, but if you're not able to do that, you can indirectly just try and send out something, then it just turns up and it just comes back square right back in the head. And that's the best say. That's probably one of the leading reasons why most practitioners, when they do a working, sometimes that's the main reason why whenever they try and do something, it just comes back and hits them in the face. But you really need to have a strong mental health and being able to ground yourself. Because if you're not able to do that, and say for an example, you want to actually like do a working of some kind, and unknowingly you have a clear quartz crystal in that working that you're doing. The issue with that, if you're not able to ground yourself, by default, clear quartz crystals, if they're not given a intention and they're not programmed with an intention, by default, they only empower and they pretty much like enhance the energy that's around it or in the area. So if you're doing the working and now you're having the doubts, and if you didn't charge this thing is going to amplify your mental instability because that's just what it does. It's not doing it to be benefic or malefic. That's just what it does. That's just a natural thing. When in doubt, just amplify it. But if it has an intention, it'll mimic the intention and send it out. And primarily, that's one of the reasons why with clear quartz crystals, you have to be very careful. If you're very sensitive, you can come to find out that, how about we go 25 and not 50, dude? That's criminal speeding, I'm just saying. People drive me nuts. Anyway. Let me know when that thing in between your legs is done. Because, yeah, it's getting kind of old. Hey, Kayla. I'm probably just gonna go face first into... I'm about to go face first and hit them with a shunny stick repeatedly a few times. But going right into the psychiatric disorders and the conditions of being, like, experiencing interaction with spirits and communication and being able to hear and communicate with them, and then comparing it alongside the psychiatric disorders. Why the heck did all these cars just appear out of nowhere? Jeez. It's like, what is this, like a race around the block? Hope not. But anyway, so. Based on my experience, the difference between spirituality and interacting with the entities, divine, spirit, doesn't matter, and the occult, between the mental, emotional, and psychiatric disorders. Based on my experience, when communicating with spirit or an entity, the entity and the direction that either the audio or the sound that's being emitted. But the sound or like what's being communicated is outside of the person's mind and thoughts, usually. And that being said, they come from a different direction because the entity, even though you may not see it, the entity is always outside of you. Or if they're going to be putting thoughts in your head, they'll actually put it in a way that way you know, okay, this is such and such entity, because they will be identifying yourself. And the state that I was in when I was going through those challenges, I mean, I had hell pretty much making known that it was her. And I mean, I knew it was her when, she just came in, because it was just like a sudden, oh, okay, I know who that is. Along with, actually appearing a few times. Actually, many times, not a few. But usually, stop banging stuff. It ain't cute banging stuff. Usually those come from a direction of some sort. So like, say if you're walking, mind your own business, and then you hear like your voice, no, not voice, yeah, you're hearing your voice being called. You hear your name being called to your left. You look to the left, there's nothing there. But then you just look and you just think, and what in the world called my name? And then when you're focusing in, you actually see like for a brief moment something get a little bit fuzzy. Usually when that fuzzy thing happens, that's actually an entity being present. Some of the time, not all the time. Keep that in mind. And that instance of it speaking your name and calling out to you, you seeing the kind of blur, that can show that it's an entity outside of you trying to interact with you. Outside of you, that's the spirituality, and that's interacting with the entities. But now when it comes to the psychiatric, this can vary based on person to person, because the thing with psychiatric disorders of any kind, they are their own unique case. Because what one person experiences may be something completely different to another person. The whole spectrum of the psychiatric disorders, they're so varied, and there's really not ever one the exact identical same. So they have to be taken as they are, because it's very near impossible to pinpoint exactly what to do in every situation, because every person reacts differently. Their like the hormones being excreted through the brain, like dopamine and all that stuff, it varies on such a large scale, including also their weight, their age, their height, There's so many factors that you can't pinpoint the perfect thing to do because it's so many variables going on at once. Mm-hmm. But now, since you're seeing them, and if you're hearing them and they're outside of you, that is the actual spirit or the entities communicating with you. But now with the disorders, the psychiatric disorders, the way that I found out that, wait a minute, something's not right here. Every time when I heard a voice pretty much being like that close to my ears to the point where it was like in my head going in both directions, that's when I know, okay, this is an illusion. This is a delusion. This voice that's speaking is not real. This is just something that's pretty much going on in my mind. Because an entity, again, it'll come from outside of you in a specific direction, usually. But if it's a thought, then it would be a thought and be coming from your own regular thought process. But for like hearing illusions, it'll be like point blank next to your ear. It won't be really in the head, it'll be just like that close. And you, no matter what you do, you can't stop hearing it. The entities, though, you can kind of dull their sound a little bit, but I mean, you're still going to be able to hear them. And I mean, if they put a thought in your head, you kind of can't mute that. I mean, you can try, but if you're already open, well, you're open. And also, when your mental health is not well, and if you're under the influence of an antidepressant, an antipsychotic, yep, that can be a potential sign too. And probably the most difficult thing is that, I mean, it just happened like just now. When I hear something, sometimes I think, okay, well, what did I just hear? Was it somebody outside of the house? Was it an empty in the room? Or am I having another one of those psychiatric incidences, which I haven't had in years? So, I mean, all these factors, sometimes you have to check yourself and think, okay, it came from outside, so it can be one of the two, but I'm not sure. You kind of have to use your, I mean, deductive reasoning, and I learned that in robotics. That's like the only thing I learned from that class. I loved it. It was a lot of fun, but I got kind of annoyed when I had to like nitpick program and define every little thing from simply bending the wrist downward. Like, and I had to define how to do this. It looks simple. I mean, you can do it, yes, but a robot that's like, what does down look like? What does bend mean? Yeah, like literally had to define every little thing. And return position is, and put it back the way it was. I mean, yeah, that, talk about a big headache. But I mean, it was a fun class. But when you have, or you're under the influence, it can be anything: caffeine, medication, psychiatric medication, antidepressants, antipsychotics, what are those called? Like medications for like neuropathy or attempting to try and treat neuropathy, or anything that affects your ability to comprehend or your ability to discern or able to affect your ability to see or interact with the world. Even NyQuil, that counts. Cold medicine, that counts. Uh, then you absolutely know how much of a pain in the tush it can be, Caleb. You know how much of a pain it can be, and how much of a headache it is. And if it's just off, if the string is off by just one letter, you're just like, ah. It is the absolute perfect profession for somebody who has a lot of vertical placements, because that kind of work needs absolute pinpoint precision correctness. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love bettering things and critiquing and improving stuff and enhancing details and cleaning things up, but not that intense, because that takes a long time. But when you're under the, am I reading what? the message you just said, or am I, what do you mean by reading this? I am, if that's what you, if it's just the message you said, then yes. But if you're thinking that I'm reading a teleprompter, I'm not. Because I'm just recalling it from my experience of, being on this rock. What are you talking about, dude? Oh, looking for a bug? Oh, gosh. Because, like, as soon as you see where the bug's at, uh, you don't have anything to prove that, dude. So if you could be so kind to kind of, go bother somebody else, because I'm trying to actually talk to somebody and you're being kind of rude by just giving out accusations. So, anyway, when it comes to even like finding a bug, because I mean, one little string can affect another string to the point where it's so bad that one little thing that's off can just completely, like, okay. Then you had to go back into the programming, dig it back up, figure out, okay, so how is this string now affecting this? How does that even work? How does this conflict with this when it had nothing to do with it in the first place? And it's just like, even also video game programming, that can be probably the biggest pain in the tush, because minor details can be just so like, oh, everything gets connected somehow, but just how one string can conflict with another. I mean, good lord, I'm even surprised I still remember that. I haven't even thought about that in years. But anyway, back to the mental health thing. So when it comes to, like, if you're taking an antidepressant, antipsychotic, any antipsychotic, or anything that hinders your ability to comprehend what's going on around you, it does make you a little bit more susceptible. And if you're on something like a, if you were paying attention, I was talking about mental health in terms of the occult, which is my niche, and I've been practicing for 11 years. Anyway, when you're under the influence of any kind of intoxicant, and it doesn't have to be, I really hope he's not going to be one of those ones. And by terms of occult, meaning like mental health, because if you don't have a strong mental health, you can't really do occult. Because your mental health is probably one of the most, if not most important things to ensure is that it's, hmm. 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 Oh, okay. Somebody has a motive. There's a hidden motive. I just said it. And I said what my niche is. So there's a hidden motive that's going on. And now this is what's coming at you, essentially. Turkish? I don't speak Turkish. I know Russian a little bit, a tiny bit, but I haven't spoken it in a while. You know, if you're trying, besides anyway, yeah. Again, there's a hidden motive. So, Kayla, what was that term that we were calling these ones? What was it again? What was it? What is that term called? What did you say? Oh, no, no. Oh, no. Well, that sounds so weird. No. It's not, that. It's just, we're, we're kind of, pretty much essentially, these are actually used to divinate or to see what can't be seen with the regular human eyes. And it relies on using the intuition. But then again, I just said and showed about what's really going on. And let's see, I think I have better yet here. Yeah, screw it. Pretty much, literally. Literally anything, it just depends on the deck. Then again, it's probably better if you do your own research and then you can actually learn it from yourself. But still, just really don't be thinking that, you know, I don't like this. That would be using remote viewing. Well, for that question, no. That depends on what incense you're burning. Now, dragon's blood, well, even though that's really a resin, it's not really, blood of a fire-breathing dragon. Essentially, dragon's blood is pretty much the staple incense for anything. You can use it for protection, consecrating, banishing, empowering, love work. If you want to, you can even hex and curse with it. It's kind of like the generic, but it's also deceptively very potent, and you can actually merge it with other incenses. That was a tongue twister. Like you can add dragon's blood with. You can actually use dragon's blood with, say, if you wanted to make a more of an intoxicating scent. That's where I'm putting it. You can mix it with jasmine, which adds some more bit of a kick to jasmine scent. That sounds so weird. But I probably would not mix dragon's blood with something like, what's that called? Nug Champa? No, that won't mix well because the scents collide. And black magic and white magic, there's something that has to be kind of like understood about it, because black magic, to be technical, isn't malefic. Black magic is essentially doing magic to better thyself, because it's putting the self first. White magic is when you're doing magical workings to help somebody else outside of you, or you're doing your devotional work, or if you're doing works towards divinity or spirit. Like if you're giving recognition to one, that's white. That was odd. Actually, I kind of practice. I really don't live it myself, so 11 years experience, kind of have quite the melting pot. I can only hope so. Okay. There is, to be technical, magic is a magic. There is, if you're going to be paradigming it, that's when you're limiting yourself. And funny enough, originally the idea of black magic and white magic, it actually came from those who used to own the slaves back when there were slaves being brought over, and the magic that the divination, it can depend on the person, because when you divinate, one person sees one thing and another person can see something else that the other person didn't see. It all depends on the person's perspective and how in tune they are with it. But with the magic, though, anything. Well, the way that I look at that, if I have 2 dislikes, well, that kind of shows that somebody took the time to still give me watch time, so I'm not complaining. Pyromancy? Oh, that's divination by candle flame, right? I think the other one was on divination by, what's that called? Divination by smoke? But then again, you need to have like something to catch the smoke and make it hit the thing or whatever. Can't remember. If you're going to be interrogating me, yeah, scrying is when you take a surface. I don't even know if I have a mirror of some kind. Do I have something reflective? And that probably isn't going to work. Essentially, when you scry, you're looking at either something that again, I just told you. If you don't know how to listen, now's the time to learn. Because that's something you kind of learned in preschool. Sometimes I'm the same way too. Like when I'm trying to really focus on but I haven't done pyromancy in a long time, so I'm gonna have to refresh for that one. But when you scry, you need to have a surface that you can. If you want to actually ask me all these questions, there's actually a text line down below in the description where you can actually text me your questions. That way, you can ask me all the questions you want. And no, I'm not single. I'm kind of committed, so you know. So really, or it goes, and besides, something's fishy and it's not me. I don't even like fish. But for when you scry, you actually use a surface. Usually it's black, or if you want to be extra fancy, you can get a bowl of water, and pretty much you just go outside when it's dark and you have the moonlight reflect on it. International text, you don't want to waste your money? Then you don't need to have your questions answered then. Boo-hoo then. And besides, waste? It's okay. I mean, you're giving me your time, and that's something you can't get back. Thanks for that, though. What'd you say, Caleb? And actually, speaking of color and scent, usually when a candle is already scented, listen, Cupcake, where's your evidence to prove that? Because here's the thing, if you don't know, it's okay, because you're actually helping me get closer to my monetization, so stop being a fanboy. It's not cute, and it's kind of sad that you're kind of giving me your time, you're trying to woozy woo me. Stop it, hon. I'm not interested. Anyway, it's like somebody doesn't know how to listen, but okay, whatever. And besides, where's your proof? Get a life? What about you, honey? How about you? Because you're kind of, giving me too much attention. And sheesh. You know, usually when you have somebody constantly trying to throw stuff at you nonstop, I guess that's kind of a form of insanity because they're trying so hard to get a result out of you over and over again, but it's not going to be the outcome that they want. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna change this up a little bit because, I mean, if you're gonna be helping me get to my watch time limit, thanks for that. But it's again, if you don't have any proof, don't make accusations, hun. Besides, mm-hmm. Anyway, and usually also, if you don't have a strong mental health, you actually aren't able to comprehend and being able to defend yourself. Not my fault. Don't look at me. Neither do I, because really, it's kind of a tactic that makes people try to get attention, but no, 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 no. You're the one swinging. You swung at me first, and you kept swinging. Don't no. At the end of the day, you have to understand this. It's better. Actually, Kinky, where is? Well, did you just get it? I don't know if you just got it. And I mean, if you want to. Actually, I should make that known, because I mean, since you volunteered, okay. Well, there you go. So, and actually, while I'm thinking about it, here, where's Kayla? Because she's always here, so I'm gonna give that to her. Same with the you. No, gotta wait for that to scooch. There. There you go. Now you two. No, actually, technically, you three. If you were sorry, then how come you were on the aggressive in the first place? Because, like what I said, there is a hidden motive and hidden agenda that was going on the whole time. You came in here for a reason. To put it this way. Essentially, why should I forgive you when you came swinging at me in a way that was not even called for? And what does that got to do with anything? Now, I don't even understand that. How can you be randomly subscribed to me? Because the thing is, because I mean, there's so many variables that could have happened. I mean, you could have had your account hacked. You could have had somebody. You could have left your information logged into another. What's that called? You could have left your information logged into another computer. Someone could have logged on in, or they could have just gone onto there and then they saw my channel, liked it, hit subscribe, and they forgot that wasn't their content. I mean, because you really don't have proof of someone buying subs and making accusations like that. It's cute and all, but the issue with that If you don't have the proof and if you don't have the 3D evidence, it doesn't stand. And that's going at it from a legality, logical perspective. And the thing is, I'm actually somebody who, if I, nice sarcasm. Actually, it's actually pretty, actually, this is actually a very good thing to kind of like show and demonstrate, because if you have a strong intuition, you can just pick up on stuff and just reading in between the lines. Because if you're really good at it, you can just see it. At the end of the day, you have to understand, being hostile to someone that you don't even know, instead of actually asking them to listen to you, yeah, I'm also going to give like an idea of like how to combat this for next time. If you're in a state where you need to talk to someone, get someone that you know and you can trust and that you know will be able to fully listen to you, and not someone random on the internet. And unless if you actually have had consistent interaction with them and you feel secure, that's different. But I have never seen you before. I don't know anything about you. And how am I supposed to know that you might not be somebody else? How am I supposed to even also know that possibly, as far as I know, you could possibly be an ex of mine? You could be potentially someone who is stalking me. You could be even my own father, but that's not in the position where that needs to be talked about. I mean, I don't know. On my experience, all I see is this individual. And funny enough, I was pretty close with someone named Danny, but then again, he backstabbed me. So that was also another thing that popped in my head, but I didn't assume. The only way that I do is if it just depends on you, and what actions you take next. But also, I haven't forgot about your question about how do you pronounce that? La Lorna? I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, La Lorna? I think that's what it is. I think that's what you say, but La Lorna, what do you want to know about La Lorna? And then that spirit that's earthbound, that's like an anima sola, which is a purgatory, forever purgatory spirit, which is like anima sola. No, wait, from like anima from Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't take Spanish at all in high school, so I'm kind of like not really proficient in Spanish. So okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, no. Your guy? Honey Bear. Milkshake. I ain't yours. It's cute though, but no. I've been with the same person for 11 years. Hmm. This kind of feels like the situation that just happened. I wonder if you can actually. I wonder if any of you can actually see how this coincides with the current moment right now. Bring it a little bit closer. I wonder if any of you can pick up on it, because I mean I see it clear, perfectly clear. One figure and then another figure. Do you see it, Kayla? Or Miss? Or No? Do you happen to see it? Because I do. At least in this, also in this deck, this is supposed to be the Eight of Cups, but yeah, being intuitive reader, I catch something different. Yeah, because of the figure on the back. Mm-hmm. Waiting for the other person to turn their back, and then when it's exposed, attack again. That's just what happened. But like, you see how the individual turned his back, and the zombie figure pretty much has jumped on to him with his back turned to attack when he least expects it. And what just happened? Hmm. Ten of Swords. But you know, this is a different depiction. Whoa. I just love how you worded that. Wow. That was beautiful wording right there. Although, I mean, look at that High Priestess. Somebody's on the attack again. Do you happen to know who Shunny is? And I'm asking the Danny guy. Do you happen to know who Shunny is? Yep, 3, 6, 9. Okay, yeah. But seriously, do you know who Shunny is? Because by the sounds of it, your place of origin could it be India? Or somewhere in the Middle East? And look, again, something being hidden behind the back, another motive. Funny, I just drew this card from the previous deck. The same card, different depiction. Yeah, he's my ruler. And he's to best put it, he's probably, if not the most, how do I put this? To best put it, you're kind of like speaking to somebody who's kind of close to him. You said Pakistan. You said Pakistan, now you're saying India. Which one is it? Because oh gosh, grandparents, crazy kids. But specifically, to best put it, the thing is that we're at the point where it's kind of making me question, are you intentionally doing this? And if you're needing somebody to give you attention, it is what it is. Sorry about that. My grandparents came back and my grandmother got a cast put on her wrist, so I wanted to make sure she was A-okay. Just... So yeah, anyway. Probably... Gosh, it's windy. I may have to... Because I might need to be available for my grandmother for about an hour or so, because my grandmother's going back out. So I may have to put off the remainder of the stream until later, because I gotta prioritize her. But anyway, for those that did show up, and now the new 3 moderators, Kayla, I'm just gonna call you Miss, and again, Ethan. I'll see you guys like on the next stream later on today. I'll come back on today. I just gotta have an obligation I need to take